It's Tuesday, February 1. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. The island's second largest commercial bank, Scotia Bank Jamaica, will delay its recently announced fee hikes by 6 months. Scotiabank had previously proposed that, effective February 1, the charge for ATM withdrawals at its proprietary machines will be $25 per transaction and $60 for withdrawals at other banks' ATMs. The withdrawals at international ATMs would have attracted a fee of $312. In a release Monday evening, Scotia says for the next 6 months, it will be using the period to educate its customers about the best account type for their needs, ensuring that they're using the most appropriate channels to minimize fees. The bank also notes that it will be expanding their Scotia payroll account for customers earning under $100,000 per month. It says senior citizen accounts will continue to use Scotia ATMs and point-of-sale machines for free, and all deposits and transactions done via their mobile and online platforms remain free. The delay comes after major backlash from the public and admonitions from officials such as Prime Minister Andrew Holness, Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark, and Justice Minister Delroy Chuck. As recent as 2018, St. Catherine Southern Member of Parliament Fitz Jackson brought a private member's motion in Parliament seeking to prevent deposit-taking institutions from charging customers arbitrary and exorbitant fees. The motion was defeated then, but the MP has continued his advocacy. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark says restructuring of public sector compensation is a key focus area for 2022. He was speaking during the Jamaica Stock Exchange's recent 17th semi-virtual Regional Investments and Capital Markets Conference in New Kingston. The finance minister says the structure of the public sector and its compensation program is chronically unstable.
We have over 325 grade levels in the public sector and 185 allowances, making public sector compensation complex, making it inequitable, making it non-transparent, and fiscally risky.
Dr. Clark says addressing these issues will lead to a rise in public compensation, which will affect the country's GDP. He adds that it is important that this restructuring is not seen as a reversal of the fiscal growth that Jamaica has achieved.
That would be a colossal setback for everyone, including public sector employees. After years of sacrifice by every single Jamaican, we have to continue to be judicious in how we deploy public resources.
He says the compensation restructure will run parallel to the public sector transformation program. Plans are also afoot, where applicable, to move all public services online. The finance minister says the plan is to improve the sector's efficiency,
including merger, closure, and divestment of public bodies, and inclusive of outsourcing in areas where the public sector does not have to perform that function, as well as introducing technology to allow us to implement shared services where we can focus resources and over time bring our public sector wages to GDP ratio back into line over the medium term.
The House of Representatives will on Tuesday vote whether or not Portmore will become Jamaica's 15th parish. If the bill is passed, it will go to the Senate for its own approval. Chairman of the Joint Select Committee to consider the proposal to establish Portmore as Jamaica's 15th parish, Dr. Andrew Wheatley, says he expects a smooth flow of the process in the matter. Jamaica's youth parliamentarians have a few suggestions on how to get ahead in the fight against domestic violence. They are calling for intensified public efforts through schools, workplaces, and active community groups to curb domestic violence. The youth parliamentarians met in Gordon House on Monday. Youth parliamentarian for Trelawney Northern Deshaun Cook who sits on the government side, made it clear that amid the novel coronavirus pandemic, there were increased reports of domestic violence and child abuse from within homes instead of reports of greater nurturing and harmonious living. Presenting statistics from the National Children's Registry, Cook noted that more than 1,000 allegations of sexual abuse were reported for investigation between January and June 2020.
Some may say that it's not a big deal. Some may say that the numbers are padded. However, the reality exists that the resources that many at-risk partners rely on, such as the extended family, childcare, schools, religious groups, and other community organizations, are no longer available in many areas. As such, I am putting forward these plans to the Honorable House, which will better sensitize our people to the harm of domestic violence and to the need to treat it as a serious issue.
Mr. Cook says in some cases, police downplayed the importance of investigating, and neighbors turn a deaf ear and blind eye to the problem. He says more can be done to educate the public using schools, workplaces, and community groups while using systems to track the progress. He is also taking issues with the penalties currently imposed for domestic violence in Jamaica, saying 6 months imprisonment or $10,000 fine for the violation of a protection order is inadequate. Mr. Cook compared the fines to those issued in Barbados.
In the Republic of Barbados, the penalty is approximately 400,000 Jamaican dollars and 1 year imprisonment or both. So, Madam Speaker, do we really believe that the penalty is enough to ward off perpetrators? What is the message that we're sending with such a menial fine? Madam Speaker, our children are our future. And if they're being robbed of an opportunity to properly develop, what does that mean for Jamaica's long-term development?
Focusing on women and children who have been victims of violent crimes, opposition youth parliamentarian for St. Catherine Southeastern, Carol Thorpe, listed some of the names of women who disappeared or have died.
Winshay Barrett, Phyllis Pressure, Gabriel King, Tony Ann Reed, Jasmine Dean, Canice Jackson, and Jocelyn Gordon. What do these names mean? Their deaths and disappearances over the previous 22 months have underlined the fact that sexual assault in Jamaica has no regard for age, with one victim being 78 years old and another being a mere 15 years old, with one of these occurrences happening in 2022. Madam Speaker, I submit to this Honourable House that greater community policing is vital, including increasing the number of police patrols in communities and strengthening the JCF's Community Safety and Security Branch, which allows them to help when needed.
Thorpe also questioned why the charge for assault on children and women is still $2,000 and described the amount as chump change. The National Youth Parliament of Jamaica started in November 2003 as a non-partisan initiative aimed at providing youth from across Jamaica with a forum to express their views, network, and to debate issues of concern in the House of Representatives. St. Andrew has a new Custos. Business executive Ian Forbes has been sworn in by Governor General, His Excellency, the Most Honorable Sir Patrick Allen. Mr. Forbes, who succeeds Dr. Patricia Dunwell, was installed on January 31 at King's House. Mr. Forbes says he's committed to the highest levels of transparency and accountability, and they will be at the forefront of his duties, adding that he's determined to be a, quote, good man and continue being part of what is right with Jamaica, end quote. For your information, the Custos is the chief magistrate of the parish, and it is his duty to prepare a roster of the justices of the peace within the parish so that there are sufficient JPs at each meeting of the Petty Sessions Court and in the various districts to carry out the work. Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Olivia Grange, says the Thanksgiving service for the life of late reggae musician and record producer Robbie Shakespeare of Sly and Robbie fame will be held on Monday, February 7. She made the announcement on Sunday at the church service marking the start of Reggae Month. Minister Grange, who is handling the arrangements in collaboration with the Shakespeare family, says the public will be able to view the body of the late bassist on Sunday, February 6 at the National Indoor Sports Center from midday to 3 p.m. Today, February 1, marks the Chinese New Year. Jamaica boasts one of the largest Chinese population across the region, with some 75,000 persons of that ethnicity on the island. Noted for their business acumen and discipline, today persons of Chinese descent serve in the highest echelons of power. Among them, the current National Security Minister and Deputy Prime Minister Dr. Horace Chang, as well as billionaire businessman Michael Lee Chin, to name a few. The Chinese are noted for their inroads in Jamaica's wholesale and retail sector and play crucial roles in Jamaica's small and medium enterprises. During the colonial era, thousands of Chinese laborers were brought to the British Caribbean in the mid-19th century as contracted labor force for the sugar plantations. Initially, they settled in 3 main locations: Jamaica, Trinidad, and British Guyana. A $6 billion loan has been secured for the construction of the Morant Bay Urban Center. For the details on this developing story, plus our daily market updates, we go to Gabriel Thompson, who is at the business desk.
On Friday, directors of the Morant Bay Urban Center Company Limited signed a loan agreement to facilitate the financing of construction on the long-awaited center. Construction is billed to begin this month. The loan agreement is being facilitated through the National Commercial Bank (NCB) and comes 3 years after ground was broken for the project. In a statement, Chairman of the Factories Corporation of Jamaica Limited (FCJ), Littleton Tanny Shirley, gave a commitment to have the project completed within the specified 24-month timeline and within budget. He blamed the long wait time on delays in securing all the requisite approvals. Mr. Shirley said St. Thomas will now benefit from economic growth through the development of the urban center, alongside the construction of the highway, which is now underway. The Morant Bay Urban Center will see the amalgamation of services provided by the Government of Jamaica and the private sector through the creation of 436,000 square feet of space. Among the entities to take up space at the development are the St. Thomas Municipal Corporation, the Ministry of Justice through the St. Thomas Parish Court, all other government entities located in Morant Bay, and several private sector companies to include KFC, Burger King, and business process outsourcing BPO companies, among others. The project is expected to cost $6 billion to complete. In foreign exchange trading for Monday, January 31, the US dollar sold for an average $157.05. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $123.18. The pound sterling traded for $210.66, and the euro sold for an average $177.84. In Monday's trading session, the following reflects the movement of the JSE indices. The JSE index advanced by 1,195 points to close at just over 400,000 units. The junior market index advanced by 55 points to close at over 3,000 units. The combined market index advanced by 1,604 points to close at over 400,000 units, and the All-Jamaican Composite Index advanced by 3,483 points to close at over 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 106 stocks, of which 54 advanced, 42 declined, and 10 traded firm. Stocks advanced for 1834 Investments Limited, AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, and Burita Investments Limited. Stocks declined for Access Financial Services Limited, Caribbean Cement Company Limited, and Caribbean Cream Limited. Trading firm were 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, Berger Paints Jamaica Limited, and CAC 2000 9.5% preference shares. Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited was the volume leader with over 5.2 million units, followed by Spur Tree Spices Jamaica Limited with over 3.8 million units, and Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited USD with over 2.3 million units. In market data for oil prices slipped on Tuesday, staying close to a 7-year high, weighed by speculation OPEC Plus could go further than expected to add supply at a meeting this week and expectations of a rise in U.S. inventories. Brent crude was down 74 cents or 0.8% at $88.52 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude slipped 83 cents or 0.9% to $87.32 a barrel. Oil was also pressured by expectations this week's U.S. supply reports will show an increase in crude stockpiles. Analysts expect crude stocks to have risen by 1.8 million barrels. And with that, we close this Tuesday edition of the Business Report Inside the News on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson. Pleasant viewing.
In regional news, the time for talk in Grand Bahama is over. That's the declaration made by Prime Minister Philip Davies, who made his first official visit as the nation's chief. During his visit on Monday, the Prime Minister gave an update on the Grand Lucia.
Prime Minister met with those officials here at the office of the Prime Minister here in Grand Bahama, as he says his administration is determined to get Grand Bahama back on track.
The time for talk as to where Grand Bahama is going is over for me. We need action. We need to see. I know Grand Bahama, having lived here myself in the early 70s. And the time has come for Grand Bahama to truly live up to its true potential. And it's not going to happen with people just talking about it.
The PM's comments came after he met with Minister for Grand Bahama Ginger Moxie and other senior government officials on that island. Davis says his administration is determined to find and implement a strategy that works for Grand Bahama that has had an ailing economy for nearly 2 decades.
There are a number of factors that we're looking at now to determine the direction where Grand Bahama should go. But we are now looking at all those possibilities and projects because we want to have partners in Grand Bahama who has a vision that they are prepared to put their money where their mouth is to ensure it becomes a reality.
As it relates to the Grand Lucayan, he says that's just one piece of the puzzle for revamping that island.
The real issue is not just the Grand Lucayan, because there's no sense us putting it in the hands of someone and then the other components for a successful community are not there. So, for example, to have a successful project at Grand Lucayan, a successful resort, airlifts is important. So we have to look at the airport to see how we can get the airport back on stream in a way to complement and to ensure it feeds into the Grand Lucayan Hotel.
Back in 2018, the Minister administration purchased the resort from Hong Kong conglomerate Hutchison Whampoa. The price tag, $65 million. 2 years later, in March 2020, an agreement between the government and Bahamas Port Investments Limited was signed, and the final buying price was $50 million. The Davis administration announced last month that the sale agreement was cancelled. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
In St. Lucia, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sharon Balmar-George says the 7-day average of COVID-19 cases on the island appears to be trending downward. However, she warns that despite the noted reductions in most of the public health indicators, the daily caseload still has a bearing on hospitalizations, death, and productivity.
In the latest situational report, the CMO points out that while the island continues to lodge cases, the data points to an overall decline in the epidemic curve. But the caseload still poses a threat to public health and productivity.
This week, although we continue to register cases, the 7-day average approximation indicates a downward trend in the epidemiological curve. We note reductions in most of the public health indicators. The cases of COVID-19 noted on a daily basis still has the capacity to cause an increase in hospitalizations, deaths, and affect the productivity in the workplace. We appeal to all organizations, including the public and private sector, to ensure the strengthening of all of the public health protocols. We remind you of the following important measures. Avoid large crowds and crowded areas. If you develop respiratory symptoms, seek medical care and avoid contact with others.
The daily infection, a key metric, is also down.
The daily infection rate for the last 7 days is 94.9 per 100,000 population per day, which represents a 43% reduction from last week, with a 44% average testing positivity rate and a transmission rate of 2.9. We have 49 positive cases admitted at the respiratory hospital. 6 of them are severely ill. We have recorded a total of 325 COVID-19 related deaths and COVID deaths. Since the commencement of the 5th wave on December 16, 2021, 7,780 cases have been diagnosed, with an average of 173 cases per day.
2 trends remain the same. The cases in the 5th wave continue to be predominantly women, with men accounting for most of the deaths. Moreover, pre-existing conditions are still a feature of the pandemic-related fatalities.
Women account for 59% of the cases, and 29 COVID-19 deaths have been recorded, 55% of which is male. The majority of the deaths are COVID-19 related due to other associated chronic health conditions. Tourists account for 2% of the cases diagnosed for the past 7 days, but 4.8% of the total cases during the 5th wave. Although the cases diagnosed are island-wide, the main areas affected are Castries, Gros-Islet, Vieux-Fort, and Babonneau.
St. Lucia has one of the lowest vaccination rates in the region, and the CMO continues to appeal to St. Lucians to roll up their sleeves and take the jab. The Pfizer, AstraZeneca, and Johnson & Johnson vaccines are available at the various wellness centers and advertised sites. Dr. George reminded St. Lucians that these vaccines have been proven to be safe and effective in protecting persons from developing COVID-19, its severe forms, complications, hospitalizations, and death. The booster vaccine is also available for persons who have been fully vaccinated for over 6 months. Joachim Duplessis, HDS News Force.
And in Trinidad and Tobago, over $600 million is being owed to the National Maintenance Training and Security Company Limited by the government and state agencies. This was revealed during a joint select committee on state enterprises meeting on Monday. Mahalia Joseph Wharton has more.
CEO of the National Maintenance Training and Security Company Limited, MTS, Lennox Rattansingh, said their biggest clients, the Ministry of Education, currently owes the company approximately $300 million. Chairman of the committee, Anthony Vera, questioned the company on how they've attempted to get the monies owed to them.
We all go to the various PSs and ministries, and we use our relationships as much as we can to find those. We even speak to the Ministry of Public Utilities, who have actually gone to the Ministry of Finance and other stakeholders on our behalf, and we have gone directly to the Ministry of Finance. The matter continues to be one that is a major challenge for us. And yes, Mr. Chairman, we are managing the affairs. It's unpredictable, and we are managing the affairs almost on a day-to-day basis.
Mr. Rattansingh said some of the debts are up to 15 years old. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Public Utilities, Nicolette Duke, said they have also been writing to the ministries, reminding them about their outstanding debts.
We have even at times interfaced with the Ministry of Finance to indicate that, releases to certain ministries have not been made for specific periods of time, because what we do We asked the ministries, could you let us know when last a release was made in order for you to pay, whether it's under janitorial services or security services?
Senior business analyst in the investments division of the Ministry of Finance, Ryan Mirage, said his ministry has also been writing to the various ministries.
Sometimes we got MTS reporters that it did see increase collections. However, after a while, it goes back into abeyance. So I think we just have to continue that same drive. But further than that, I really cannot comment further because I really don't know what else we can do.
It was suggested by JSC member Wade Mark that the committee meet with the Minister of Finance, Colm Imbert, to address the outstanding debt owed to MTS by various government entities, as the situation was unacceptable. Mahalia Joseph Wharton, TTT News.
In sports, we put the spotlight on cricket. After being a constant in the West Indies teams since his debut in 2017, Shimron Hetmyer's international appearances have become staggered, mainly owing to fitness issues. Desmond Haynes and Ramnaresh Sawan lead the new selection panel for Cricket West Indies, and despite Hetmyer being omitted for the tour to India in February, Haynes assured in his first briefing since taking the job, the talented batsman is part of their future plans. Newsroom Guyana's Akeem Green reports.
The failed title defense in what some call a diabolical campaign at the World T20 United Arab Emirates was the last time the 25-year-old was part of the team. In fact, his 127 runs in 5 innings led the team batting charts. Evan Lewis 105 and Nicholas Poor 103 were only other batsmen to surpass 100 runs. However, he has since missed the 2 tests in Sri Lanka. Actually, he last played Test cricket in December 2019. He then missed the T20s in Pakistan, the One-Day International Series against Ireland, the 5 T20s against England and Barbados, and he will now miss the White Ball Tour to India in February. He is named in the Guyana Harbour Eagles squad for the first 2 regional 4-day matches, the first of which starts February 9 in Trinidad and Tobago. The tour to India presents Haynes, Sarwan and head coach Phil Simmons, their first combined role as selectors, and a notable absentee was Hetmyer.
We need to put our arm around these guys and let them know that we are interested in their development, and to also understand that there's a level of fitness that is required to play at international level. But Hetmyer is in our plans, so there's no question about it. Hetmyer was ill this month, the beginning of the year, and obviously we've got a squad of people here who are doing well at present in the T20 tournament. So we decided that we'll keep them for the tournament going on to India.
As talented as he is, Hetmyer's road back might not be as smooth as the initial entry into the side, has since indicated that they are keen on giving the current batch more opportunities. And with fitness continuing to be his main bugbear, the player who many pundits feel can carry the load of the West Indies bat in the future, Hetmyer may have a long road back to cement his spot. For the newsroom, Akim Green.
And that's our package. Join us tomorrow for more news and sports right here on PBCJ, the People's Station.